play. Even your emotion had an echo in so much space. When you out there without care, I was out of tone. But it wasn't because I didn't know, no. I just knew too much. Does that make me crazy? Does that make me crazy? Does that make me crazy? Possibly. I hope that you're having the time of your life. Think twice. That's my only advice. Oh, who do you think you are? Oh, bless your soul. You think you're in control?
Hello, everybody. It's a beautiful Friday afternoon. I know it's lunchtime. I haven't had my lunch yet, but I wanted to chime in because we have just watched the president there at Parliament, and he opened the 13th, what do you call it? The 13th, what is it? The 13th session? I'll get it right in a moment. We've just watched that, and several things came out, but I don't want to focus on the content of the president opening Parliament. I don't want to focus on that. What I want to focus on is something that was said by a member of Parliament that was voted for by the people of Lumezi, this young man called Munir Zulu. Now, we've been hearing this name float around for a while. And for those of you that are not familiar with Munir, let me just bring you up to speed. This is a young man. He's below 40 years old. He's under 40 years old. He's a man of very small stature. Not that that's important. I'm just describing to you who he is. And he represents the people of Lumezi, a very small, tiny portion of our country. And one of the reasons I believe that the people of Lumezi voted him in is because he's got a glib tongue. You know, he talks real fast and he's got this glib tongue about him, you know. But when you look beyond his audibility, because really that's the only thing that Munir Zulu has in his arsenal. It's not high education. It's not big titles behind his name. Really, the only tool he has in his toolbox is his glib tongue. And so when you look at the people that he represents, they probably look at him as some type of demigod, when really, upon close examination, you really see Munir for what he is. He's just a kid that sort of stumbled into Parliament via his glib tongue. He went as far as grade 12. His grade 12 certificate is questionable. There have been people all over the place that have questioned the authenticity of that document. And as long as you've got people asking whether or not you are a legitimate grade 12 holder, that it brings into question everything else. It brings into question who you really are. It sort of drives to the core your integrity as a person. If you're and we have a history in this country of people who claim to be qualified in certain areas, but they really weren't. And that becomes a problem. And that is indicative of a bigger problem. Anytime you have someone that forges something or someone that presents something that is not what it's supposed to be, it brings into question the entirety of that person's integrity. Are you hearing me? And so Munir has never been to college. He's never been to university. He's never done any post high school education. And he went to Parliament representing the people of Lumezi. And when he got there, one of the first things that he talked about was his desire to become president of this country. That was the first time I'd ever heard of this Munir. I saw him he was being interviewed on television. You know, this kid that really talks fast, and he's got a very good command of the English language. And the very first thing he talked about was, I want to be president. Now, there's nothing wrong with being ambitious, but there's everything wrong with being presumptuous. I want you to get that. I want that to sink in your spirit. I need that to sizzle in your heart. I need that to marinate in your cerebellum. Okay? Let's go ahead and be clear about that. There's nothing wrong with being ambitious. There's nothing wrong with having a vision. But when all you are preoccupied with at such a young age, you haven't even gone through the furnace of the political fire. You make a few noises here and there, and the very first thing that you say when you burst out of the gates is, I want to be president. Well, you haven't earned those stripes. They don't just hand out. Listen, we no longer just hand out the presidency. You can't just wake up one morning and say, you know what, I really want to be president. Well, it doesn't work that way. So this Munir sort of made waves there, you know, made a bit of noise, but then he met his Waterloo when he alleged that the Minister of Finance had received a bribe of $250,000. Now, here's the thing. Nobody's above reproach. And nobody's perfect. But when you say things, make sure you've got stuff to back it up. Because we live in a dispensation now here in Zambia that when you say stuff, especially here on social media, when you say things that you cannot substantiate, when you say things that you can't back up, it becomes a problem. Okay, so he had a press briefing once where he confidently announced that, I got some stuff on the Minister of Finance that'll curl your hair if it's straight or make it straight if it's curled. I've got some information on the Minister of Finance that will curdle your blood. I have information on the Minister of Finance that will turn your feet cold, he said. Well, I'm paraphrasing, but he meant the same. And he comes out and he says, I know the Minister of Finance has received a bribe of $250,000 US. So the Minister of Finance, very quickly, him and his team, they sue him. And they got arrested. He got arrested. And I remember the day that they got him from. He was walking out when he was being escorted to the car by the police officer. And then the police officer tried to press his head into the car. Munir very quickly, you remember that? Now, guys, we laugh, but I'm telling you, man, that is indicative of someone who thinks he's bigger than what he really is. And yet, this is a man of very small stature. Guys, I'm not knocking the fact that he's a small guy. I'm just pointing that out. Okay, let's be clear about that. I'm not body shaming him. I'm not body shaming him in any way. I will not for one moment take advantage of the fact that he's a tiny little guy that thinks that he's King Kong. Okay. I mean, and there are people like that. Wouldn't you agree? Didn't I say the other day, didn't I say that there were people on this planet that were tiny, but they sort of walked around like they were King Kong? That's Munir Zulu, a man of small stature, but he walks around like he's Godzilla. Good grief. Anyway, so he was arrested and he was charged. They charged him, okay? And then Munir comes out with this harebrained announcement. He was angry that he had been arrested. And so he said to the press, he said, "You must know that the people of Lumezi have got more medicine power than the people from Wingwa," which is where the president comes from. So basically what Munir was saying was, if ubuloshi wa kulumezi, wali chila ubuloshi wa kuwengwa. This is coming from someone that is in parliament. This is coming from someone that has declared an interest, prematurely so, an interest in running for the presidency of this nation. A man that talks like that says things like, "Ifo buloshi bwesu, wukadi, ukuchiro buloshi wa kuwengwa." So anyway, he gets through that deal, and then after a while, he becomes a surety for Kaiser Zulu, the fugitive, the Zambian fugitive that former President Lungu appointed as political advisor. I don't even know how the hell that happened. I mean, I met Kaiser Zulu once, and the very first thing I said to myself was, this is President Lungu's political advisor? What happened? What has the world come to? What are we falling apart? What is this? A pink elephant's flying through the air now? He's the financial, not financial. He's the political advisor to the president? This guy? Anyway, I digress. Munir foolishly signs surety, becomes a surety for Kaiser Zulu. Kaiser Zulu bolts, leaves, absconds, disappears. Guess what happened to Munir? The judge said, "Munir, you became a surety for Kaiser Zulu. Kaiser Zulu hadn't been showing up. So guess what? We're going to send your little behind to jail. Go and get his little behind, bring it over here. Take him to jail." And that's what happened. So somehow he worked through that. And then here, his recent stunt, and this is his recent stunt, he goes over to the police station in Ibex Hill, where the police had held the former First Lady, Mama Esther Lungu, on charges of motor vehicle theft and possession of $400,000, illegal possession of a title deed of a land in Livala, in possession of property considered to be proceeds of crime. I forget the jargon, but that's basically what it was. So Munir goes over to Ibex Hill to offer his solidarity to the former First Lady. And guess what he says? This was a few days ago. Now remember, keep in mind, today is Friday the 8th. Okay? Friday the 8th. This is Friday the 8th, isn't it? Yes. 8th September. All right. A few days ago, a couple of days ago, Munir says, right in front of cameras and journalists and news people, he says, this Friday, referring to today, he said the president is going to dissolve parliament and he's going to call for early elections. Now, I want to focus in on this. I really want to hone in on this. I really want to focus on this because I don't want to gloss over it, not the way Wachishimba Kambudi says it. Wachishimba Kambudi, but not gross over. You can't gross over. No, it's gloss, Gloss. I don't want to gloss over this. I want to spend a few minutes focusing on the weightiness of this pronouncement. Anyone else, a child, a street vendor, a school teacher, a geologist, an optometrist, an optician, anyone else that would have made this pronouncement, nobody would have cared. If I turned on my television set or opened my news feed on Facebook and I saw and heard a school teacher from Lumezi, a school teacher from Wengwa say, on Friday the 8th, the president is going to dissolve parliament and he's going to call for early elections. If I heard a school teacher make that utterance, I wouldn't care. I'll just think to myself, well, that's just silly. But if I hear a member of parliament, an elected public official, make such an announcement, and remember when he said this, did you hear the journalist gasp? Did you tell me in the comments if you remember that? When Munir said this, when he uttered this foolishness, one of the journalists that was listening to him say what he said, one of them gasped. Do you know what it means to gasp? She was shocked, or he was shocked. Do you remember that? Tell me in the comments. Tell me in the comments if you remember that. Tell me quickly. For those of you that watched that little clip, tell me in the comments. Tell me. Tell me in the comments. Yes, here it is. I remember the journalist was shocked. Yes, shocked. She was taken aback. She gasped. Why? Because it was a member of parliament making those utterances, which begs the question, why did Munir Zulu tell such a big lie? Somebody please explain that to me. Now, before I give you my take, I want to hear what you have to say. Okay, this is what I want to hear. I want to hear you tell me why you think Munir Zulu told such a big lie. I'm going to throw your answers up here. Okay? And somebody says, yes, I remember. I remember. I remember. Somebody says, I did, and I was shocked. You remember that? Tell me why you think he said before I give you my take on it. Just tell me what you think. I'll throw it up here. Somebody says he wanted to be relevant. Okay, that's interesting. I'll give you my take, but that's an interesting thought. That is. I'm sure there is law. I'm sure, okay, I think like what you're saying is, I'm sure there's a law against what Munir said. Yes, there should be. The boy's a fool. Immaturity. Munir is a divisive leader. Now, let me tell you what my take is. The reason Munir Zulu told such a big lie is because he has lost his everlasting mind. The guy's insane. He's just not all there. He's not only delusional, he's unfactual, he's unstable, he's a liar, and he's just untruthful. That's the answer. The long and short of it is that he's untruthful. Now, if you've got a member of parliament that is publicly untruthful, that is intentionally misleading, then you've got a problem. Boom. Let's put it out there. If you have a member of parliament, a sitting member of parliament, a public official, an elected public official that is deliberately misleading, you've got a problem. We need to put a line through his name instead of under it. Boom. And that's how the cookie crumbled. All right. Thought I'd share that with you. Got that off my chest. Thank you for listening. God bless. Bye.